How did one "I'm with my friend" lie end with papers handed to me in a public lobby? Why did my husband look calm while I shook, like he already knew every step I would take? My name is Lavinia Whitley, and people usually think I am calm and reasonable. I worked as a customer support lead at an internet company, so I knew how to speak in soft words while I pushed things the way I wanted. At home, I also wanted things my way. I told myself it was normal. I told myself I carried the whole mood of the house, so I deserved comfort. Ethan, my husband, did not understand that. He was a civil engineer for the city. He liked plans, lists, and small routines. He woke up early, packed lunches, and checked the school calendar like it was a sacred book. He was not a bad man, but he was steady in a way that made me feel trapped. I hated how good he looked without trying. I also hated how people praised him for simple things, like making breakfast. That morning I watched him cut fruit for Mason and Ava. Mason was 9 and acted older than his age. Ava was 6 and followed energy like a little weather vane. Ethan asked if I wanted coffee. I said I was fine. He asked if I slept well. I said the bed was too warm and he took too much space. That was not true, but it sounded like his fault, so it felt useful. He asked what time I finished work. I said I might stay late because the queue was heavy. He said he could pick up the kids. I said he did not need to play hero. He frowned, and I liked that. I liked when he looked unsure, because then I felt bigger. I was already thinking about Nolan. Nolan Pierce was not part of my real life, not the life with school forms and spilled cereal. He was part of my other life. He made me feel like a bright person again, not a tired manager with a grocery list. He sent messages that made me smile. I told myself it was harmless because it was only words at first. I told myself Ethan had stopped seeing me, so it was fair. Around lunch, my phone buzzed under my desk. Nolan asked if we were still on for tonight. I told him yes. I felt a rush, like I was choosing myself. Then I built the cover story in my head. I decided to say I was with my coworker Maris Caldwell. Maris was friendly, loud, and always ready for a drink after work. People already believed we went out together. It was an easy lie. I texted Maris and asked if she wanted to meet later. She replied that she had family plans and could not. I stared at her message, annoyed. I did not change my plan. I changed the story. I told myself that Maris was still a friend in general, so saying her name was not a real lie. It was a type of truth. That is what I told myself. After work, I drove home and changed clothes fast. Ethan was in the kitchen, wiping the counter. The kids were building something on the floor. Ethan asked where I was going. I said I was meeting Maris because I needed to talk about work stress. He asked why it was so sudden. I said he would not understand because he did not work with people all day. He looked hurt and asked if I could go another night. I said he always tried to control my time. I still think I was right in that moment. Control is not love. That is what I told myself. Ethan asked if he could call Maris and say hello, like a normal person. His voice was careful, like he was stepping on thin ice. I said that was embarrassing and weird. I said Maris would think he was spying. He asked why a hello was spying. I said he was twisting my words, and I acted tired. I used the tired voice that ends a talk. He did not drop it. He asked again, in a small tone, why he could not speak to her. I said he did not trust me, and I could not live like that. I watched him swallow his feelings. Then I walked out. In the car, I called my sister Taryn. I told her Ethan was acting jealous again. I said he was making me feel guilty for having a friend. Taryn asked if I was sure I wanted to deal with him forever. I said I could not even breathe without him asking questions. She said I deserved fun. She said men like Ethan only respected women who took what they wanted. I repeated that line in my head because it sounded like power. I drove to the rooftop bar where Nolan liked to meet. I parked 2 levels down in the garage, away from the bright spots. Nolan was waiting near a pillar, hands in his pockets, looking relaxed. He asked if I was okay. I said my husband was in one of his moods. Nolan said Ethan sounded insecure. I nodded like it was simple. I did not want to think about the kids at that moment. I did not want to think about the way Mason watched faces when adults spoke. I did not want to think about Ava's small hands grabbing my sleeve when I left. I only wanted the feeling that someone chose me. We sat at a table where the music was loud enough to hide real life. Nolan asked if Ethan had ever really loved me. I said Ethan loved the idea of me, not me. Nolan said I was too bright to be kept in a small box. I agreed. I did not say that Ethan never kept me in a box. I kept myself in a box. And then I blamed him for the walls. My phone lit up. Ethan asked where I was. I replied that I was with Maris. He asked if Maris was there right now. I said yes. He asked if I could put her on speaker for 1 second, just to ease his mind. I said he was humiliating me. I said he was acting like my father, not my partner. I said I would come home when I was ready. Then I saw the next message, and my stomach dipped. Ethan said he had already called Maris. He said Maris sounded surprised. He asked why Maris said she was not with me. I stared at the screen and felt heat rise up my neck. I wanted to scream, but I was in public. Nolan asked what happened. I said Ethan was crossing lines and dragging my coworker into our marriage. Nolan said Ethan was trying to scare me back into obedience. I believed him because I needed to. I typed fast. I told Ethan that Maris must be confused and that he needed to stop bothering her. I told him he was making me look bad. I told him he was proving my point. The words felt sharp and clean, like I was cutting a path, but my hands were shaking. When I finally drove home, the house was quiet. The kids were asleep. Ethan was sitting at the kitchen table, not eating, not watching TV. His phone was in his hand. He asked me to sit. I said I was exhausted. He asked me one more time where I was. I said I had already told him. He asked why my friend said the opposite. Then he did something I did not expect. He did not argue. He did not raise his voice. He did not insult me. He only looked at his screen, then up at me, like he was placing a heavy object on a shelf in his mind. He said he wanted the truth, and he asked if I was willing to give it now. The next morning, I acted normal. I made toast for the kids and talked about their school bags like nothing happened. Ethan watched me like he was trying to read a sign that kept changing. He asked if we could talk after work. I said there was nothing to talk about. He said Maris sounded honest. I said Maris was dramatic and confused. He asked why I would lie if it was only a friend. I said he was the liar because he called my coworker behind my back. That word behind my back felt good in my mouth. It made him look sneaky. It made me look like the one who needed protection. Ethan drove the kids to school. I could have done it, but I wanted to look busy and important. I told myself he enjoyed it anyway. When he left, I noticed he rinsed his mug and put it on the left side of the sink. My mug was on the right. 2 mugs, 2 sides. It felt like a silent line he was drawing, and I did not like that. At work, I put on my calm voice. The office was open plan, all screens and little desk lamps. People laughed near the coffee station like life was easy. I walked in with my chin up. I told myself if I looked guilty, I would become guilty. If I looked strong, I would become right. Maris sat 3 rows away. She usually waved when I came in. This time she did not. I watched her look at my desk and then look away. I felt a sting in my chest, like she had judged me. I hated that feeling. I decided it was her fault. I walked over and asked if she was okay. She said she did not like being called at night about my marriage. She said Ethan sounded upset, and she did not want to be part of a lie. I smiled like she was being silly. I said Ethan was overreacting. I said he had jealousy issues. I said she should not take it personally. Mara said she would not cover for me again. She said she had her own life. Cover for me again. The words hit me hard because I heard the truth inside them. I pushed it away fast. I told her she was being rude. I said friends supported each other. I said she was making me feel unsafe at work because she was taking his side. She looked shocked and asked how she could take any side when she only told the truth. I said truth without loyalty was still betrayal. That sounded smart in my head. It sounded like a rule. I liked rules when I made them. Later, in the break room, 2 coworkers asked if I was okay. I saw their curious eyes, and I knew Maris had said something. I took a slow breath and acted tired, not angry. I said my husband was in a rough phase. I said he had called my friend late at night and made her uncomfortable. I said I was trying to keep work separate from home, but he kept pulling people in. I did not say I named Maris first. I did not say I used her as a cover. I said the parts that made me look patient. One coworker said that sounded controlling. I nodded like it hurt me. I said I did not like labels, but I needed boundaries. Another coworker said I should talk to HR in case it got worse. I said I did not want drama, but I might need support. When you say support, people lean towards you. I knew that. I used it. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Ethan again. He asked if we could meet at lunch. I said I was too busy. He asked if I could at least answer one question. I said he always needed one question, and it never ended. He asked where I was last night. I said I already told him. He said he wanted facts, not feelings. I said he was cold and clinical. I said marriage was not a court. That line made me feel clever, like I had won. Then another message came. Ethan said Maris had texted him first that morning. He said she explained she was not with me and she did not want to be used. He asked why she would do that if I was honest. I stared at the screen. My stomach went tight again. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, but I held it and typed with control. I told him Maris was jealous of me and liked attention. I told him he was being manipulated by a coworker. I told him he was embarrassing himself. I told him if he kept doing this, I would take the kids and stay with my sister. I did not mean it fully, but threats are like doors. You open them to see if the other person steps back. Ethan did not step back. He only replied that he would not argue by text. He said he would talk when I was ready. That calm tone made me angry. It felt like he took my weapon away. An hour later, I got a meeting invite from HR. It was short and neutral. It said they wanted a quick word about workplace concerns. My heart jumped. I walked to the HR room with my shoulders stiff. I told myself this was Ethan's fault for making a phone call. I told myself I was the victim of his behavior. The HR manager asked what happened with Maris. I said Ethan had contacted her and it caused stress. I said I did not want my private life in the office. The HR manager asked if I had asked Ethan to call. I paused for half a second, then said no. The HR manager asked why Ethan would call Maris if he did not know her. I said Ethan was good at finding people. I made it sound like a habit of his, not a one-time thing. HR asked if I felt unsafe. I said I felt pressured and watched. I did not say Ethan had never raised a hand or broken a law. I used soft words that had big shadows. Then I left the room and felt a strange relief. If HR took notes, then my story was becoming official. That mattered to me. It meant if this got messy, I had a record first. After work, I drove to my sister's apartment. Taryn opened the door and looked excited, like she was waiting for a show. I told her everything, but I told it in my way. I said Ethan called Maris like a stalker. I said HR noticed the stress. I said Maris was pretending to be pure. Taryn said Ethan sounded threatened. She said men got dangerous when they lost control. I said Ethan was not dangerous, but he was getting weird. Taryn told me to post something vague online, like a quote about respect and boundaries. So I did. I posted a line about choosing peace over emotional chaos. I did not name Ethan, but I knew people would fill in the blank. Denise, my mother, commented with hearts and wrote that strong women protected themselves. Friends from high school liked it. A cousin sent a message asking if I was okay. I replied that I was handling it. I watched sympathy gather like a warm blanket. When I got home, Ethan was reading to Ava. Mason was already in bed, but I saw his light on under the door. Ethan looked up when I entered the hallway. He asked if I had a good day. I said work was hard because of him. He asked how he caused that. I said he dragged Maris into our marriage and now HR knew. He blinked once, slow. He said he did not contact HR. I said it did not matter who contacted them because his actions created the problem. He asked if I understood what I was doing. I said I was setting boundaries. He said boundaries were fine, but lies were not. I laughed a little and said he loved the word lie because it made him feel like a judge. He did not laugh back. When the kids were asleep, Ethan held his phone out and showed me a message thread. He did not shove it in my face. He did not yell. He only asked me to read it. It was from Maris. It was short. She said she was sorry, but she could not be used as an alibi. She said she told Ethan she was not with me last night. My cheeks burned. I tried to grab the phone, but Ethan moved it away and kept it in his hand. He asked why I chose Maris's name. I said it was because he was insecure and would not believe the truth anyway. He asked what the truth was. I opened my mouth, ready to shape another story, and then I stopped, because his eyes were steady. He asked again, very quietly, where I had been. I said I needed time to think. He nodded once, like he accepted a procedure, not an answer. Then he stood up, put his phone in his pocket, and walked to the kitchen without another word. 2 days passed with the same heavy air. Ethan still did the school run. He still made dinner. He still asked the kids about their spelling words. But he did it like he was doing a job, not like he was living with me. I told myself he was trying to punish me with silence. I told myself I did not deserve that. On Friday, my mother texted about a family dinner. She said it would be good for togetherness. I knew what she meant. She wanted an audience. She wanted Ethan to look like the problem, and she wanted me to look like the calm wife who tried. I agreed right away. Before we left, Ethan asked what time we should be there. I said he should know because he loves schedules. He looked at me and asked if I could please stop. I said I was only joking, and he was too sensitive. Mason heard it and stared at the floor. Ava held Ethan's hand tighter. I saw it and felt a quick pinch of guilt. Then I pushed it down. At the restaurant, we sat at a long table. The lights were warm, and the plates looked expensive. My mother had chosen a place where people could see us. My sister Taryn was already there, smiling like she had been waiting for a scene. My father sat at the far end and looked tired. Ethan's parents came too, because it was family, and my mother liked to pretend she included everyone. When Ethan sat down, my mother asked how work was going. Ethan said it was fine. My mother said he always sounded so serious. Taryn laughed and said he had no fun. I joined in. I said he was like a walking spreadsheet. I said he measured feelings and numbers. People laughed. Even my mother's friend at the table laughed, like it was a cute story. Ethan did not laugh. He only cut Ava's food and passed Mason the bread. He asked Mason about school. Mason answered in short words. Ethan nodded and listened, like it mattered. That annoyed me, because it made him look kind. It made me look mean, and I did not like that. I leaned in and told a story about Ethan calling my coworker. I said it like he was a detective in a bad movie. I said I could not even have a friend without him checking. My mother said that was controlling. Taryn said that was scary. Ethan's mother, Ruth, asked what happened in a careful voice. I said Ethan crossed a line and embarrassed me. I did not mention the lie again. I said the same version I had already planted at work. Ethan looked up from his plate and asked me, in a calm voice, if I wanted to talk after dinner. I said there was nothing to talk about, and he should stop trying to make everything a court case. My mother laughed again and said I was right. Ethan's father, Gerald, stayed quiet and drank water. Then Ruth asked me softly, Why Maurice would say she was not with me if she was. I felt heat rise. I said Maris was dramatic and liked attention. Ruth asked if I was sure. I said yes, and I smiled like I was confident. Ethan did not correct me at the table. He did not say Maris had texted him. He did not say he had proof. He only asked Ruth to pass the salt. That calmness felt like a wall. I could not climb it, I could only hit it. After dinner in the parking lot, I walked a little ahead, just to show I did not need Ethan. The kids followed Ethan. I turned around and saw Nolan near the entrance like a surprise. He was standing by a pillar looking at his phone. My stomach flipped. Taryn saw him too. She raised her eyebrows like she understood, and she smiled. I hated that smile because it made me feel caught. I walked closer to Nolan and acted casual. Ethan walked up behind me and asked who it was. I said it was just someone I knew from around. Nolan nodded at Ethan like they were strangers in a waiting room. Ethan asked why Nolan was here. I said it was a public place and he was being paranoid again. Nolan said he was meeting a client and just stopped by for a drink. I did not know if that was true. I did not care. I wanted Ethan to look crazy for noticing. Ethan looked at Nolan's face for one long second, then looked away. He said we should get the kids home. That was it. No anger, no shout, no fight. It felt wrong. It felt like I had brought a match and found no paper to burn. On the drive home, I accused Ethan of acting like a victim in front of everyone. He asked what I wanted him to do. I said I wanted him to stop making me feel watched. He asked again where I had been on the night of the lie. I said he was obsessed and needed to let it go. He said he could not let it go because it changed everything. I said that was dramatic. At home, the kids went to bed fast. Mason asked Ethan if they could still go to the park on Saturday. Ethan said yes, in a steady voice. Ava asked if we were all mad. Ethan said adults had problems, but the kids were safe. Ava asked if I was safe too. Ethan paused, then said I was safe and we would be respectful. I did not like that he sounded like a teacher. It made me feel like the student who failed. Later that night, I walked into the hallway and heard a soft beep from the office room. It sounded like a printer. I smelled toner, faint but real. Ethan stepped out and closed the door behind him. He asked if I needed something. I said I was getting water. He said, okay. On the kitchen counter, his phone lit up for a second. I saw a calendar reminder, just a glance. It said, meeting personal. No name, no place, only a time. It made my skin prickle. I tried to sound light. I asked what that was. Ethan said he had things to handle. I asked if he was seeing someone. He said no. I asked if he was planning something against me. He said he was planning for the kids and for peace. I laughed and said he was acting like a saint. He did not reply. When he walked past me, I heard a small click from the hall closet area. It sounded like a drawer locking. I followed him and asked why he was locking things. He said he was organizing household papers. He said there was nothing for me to worry about if I was honest. That last word made my throat tight. I told him he was trying to scare me. He asked why I felt scared if I had done nothing wrong. I said he was twisting my feelings. He said he was not twisting anything, and he went to the guest room. I stood in the stairwell for a moment, listening to the house settle. The quiet felt louder than any fight. I told myself he was doing this to control me. I told myself I was still the one with power, because people believed my version. But the way he moved now, calm and careful, made me think he was building something I could not see. School pickup became the hardest part, because there were always eyes. Parents stood in small groups and traded small stories like coins. I knew how those circles worked. If you looked like the tired patient parent, people offered you sympathy. If you looked like the unstable one, people stepped back. I decided I would look patient. I arrived late on purpose, like my day was heavy. Ethan was already there, parked in the same spot. His car was straight, like he measured the distance to the curb. He was holding Ava's jacket because she always forgot it. Mason stood beside him, with his backpack straps tight in his hands. Ethan saw me and nodded once, polite, like we were coworkers. That nod made my stomach turn. I wanted him to look messy. I wanted him to look like the man I described to others. Instead, he looked like a calm father who followed rules. Ava ran to me and asked if we could get a snack. I said yes, too loudly, because I wanted people to hear that I was generous. Mason walked slower. He looked at Ethan, then at me, like he was checking weather again. Ethan asked Mason if he had homework. Mason said he did. Ethan asked if he wanted help after dinner. Mason said okay, but he did not smile. In the pickup line, one mother I knew from PTA asked if I was doing okay. I tilted my head and gave the soft face. I said things were stressful at home. I said Ethan had been checking up on me. I did not give details, but I let the tone do the work. She said that sounded hard. I said I did not want to talk badly about my husband. That line always lands well, because it sounds kind while it still paints a picture. Ethan did not interrupt. He walked to the other side of the line and talked to a teacher about a school form. He looked prepared. The teacher smiled at him like he was dependable. I felt anger rise, quick and sharp. I told myself it was unfair. I told myself he was performing. On the drive home, Ava sang a little song she learned in class. Mason stayed quiet. I asked Mason why he was silent. He said he did not like when people laughed at Dad at dinner. I said nobody laughed at Dad. They laughed at a joke. Mason said it did not feel like a joke. I told him he was too sensitive, like his father. I said Ethan made everything heavy. Mason looked out the window and did not reply. At home, I went straight to the kitchen and opened the fridge, like food could fix the air. Ethan was already there, chopping vegetables. He asked if the kids had a good day. I said yes. He asked if Mason mentioned homework. I said I did not know because I was busy. Ethan nodded, like he was noting it, not judging it. That was worse than judging. It made me feel like an item on a list. I noticed small changes around the house. 2 mugs stayed on opposite sides of the counter. A guest bed was made, like someone had slept there, then fixed it with care. A key ring on the hook had a new key. When I asked what it was for, Ethan said it was for storage. I asked what storage. He said just storage. He did not offer more. That night, Ethan asked if we could talk about logistics. He used that word, like we were running a business. I asked why he was acting like my manager. He said he wanted to be clear about pickup times and meals for the kids. I said he was being dramatic and acting like we were already separated. He said he did not want the kids to be confused. I said the kids were confused because he was cold. He asked where I went on the night I said I was with Maurice. I rolled my eyes and said he was still stuck on that. He said one lie changes trust, and trust changes everything. I said if he trusted me, he would not need answers. He said trust is built on answers. I said he was trying to trap me with word games. He did not shout. He said he would not fight. He said he would only talk when it helped the kids. That line made me feel small, because it sounded like he had the moral high ground. I told myself he was only saying it to look good. The next day, I went to the gym after work. I told Ethan I needed time to clear my head. He said okay, and asked what time I would be back for dinner. I said I did not know. He said he would feed the kids anyway. His tone was flat, not angry, and I hated it. In the gym parking lot, I saw Nolan's car 2 rows over. My heart jumped, and I smiled before I could stop myself. I told myself I deserved this. Nolan waved and walked over. He asked how things were going at home. I said Ethan was acting strange and calm, like a robot. Nolan said calm men were dangerous in a different way. He said Ethan would try to make me look crazy. He said I needed to control the story. I liked hearing that, because it matched what I already planned. I stayed only a short time. I did not want to be seen too long. I walked inside and did a quick workout, just enough to say it was real. In the locker room, I checked my phone and saw a message from my mother. She asked if Ethan was behaving. That word behaving annoyed me because it made Ethan sound like a child and made me sound like the adult in charge. I replied that I was handling it. On the way home, I stopped at the supermarket. I chose a busy time because crowded places make you look normal. I pushed the cart slowly and picked up things the kids liked. At checkout, I saw a couple from the neighborhood. They smiled and asked how the family was. I said we were fine, just busy. I said Ethan was stressed and needed to relax. I kept my voice sweet. They nodded like they understood. I felt a warm sense of control again. When I got home, Ethan had already served dinner. The kids were eating. Mason had his workbook open beside his plate. Ethan was helping him between bites, like it was normal. Ava showed Ethan a drawing and asked him to put it on the fridge. He did it. Then she looked at me and asked if I was mad at Dad. I said no, of course not. I said Dad was just tired. Ethan looked at me for a moment, then looked away. After dinner, Ethan cleaned up without asking me to help. I should have felt grateful, but I felt replaced. I followed him into the kitchen and asked why he was acting like I was not there. He said he was not acting. He said he was keeping the house calm. I saw the shared tablet on the counter light up for a second. A small message popped up that said a file uploaded successfully. No title, no details, just that line. Ethan reached over and turned the screen off. I asked what it was. He said it was nothing I needed. I told him he was hiding things. He said he was organizing. I said organizing what? He said the household. I asked if he thought I was going to steal. He said he was not accusing me, but he was being careful. Careful. That word hit me like a warning. Later, I walked past the hall closet and heard a soft hum, like a shredder. It stopped when I paused. I stood there for a second, then kept walking, pretending I did not care. In the bedroom, Ethan stayed in the guest room again. Mason's door was cracked open, and I saw his light off, but I knew he was awake. Kids always listen when adults think they do not. I lay in my bed and told myself Ethan was doing this to control me. I told myself I was still right to seek attention elsewhere, because he had pushed me there with his coldness. Still, my chest felt tight, like the house itself was keeping notes. The neighborhood winter market was on Saturday evening at the community hall. It was the kind of event with folding tables, paper cups, and local vendors selling candles and cookies. People brought kids. People smiled too much. It was also the kind of place where stories spread fast, because everyone felt like they owned each other's lives. I told Ethan we had to go. I said it would look bad if we stayed home after the stress I had been dealing with. He asked what I meant by look bad. I said people noticed everything. He said he did not care what people thought, but he cared what the kids felt. I said the kids felt fine, and he was making them tense. He looked at me for a moment, then agreed to go. I dressed like I was going out with friends, not like I was going to a school-style market. I told myself I was allowed to feel attractive. I told myself Ethan stopped trying, so I should not lower myself to his mood. When I came downstairs, Ethan was helping Ava zip her coat. Mason was already waiting by the door, hands in his pockets, eyes tired. In the car, Ethan asked if we could please keep it calm tonight. I asked why he was acting like I was the problem. He said he did not want a scene. I said I did not want a scene either, but he always pushed until I snapped. Mason listened in the back and said he did not like when we used sharp voices. I told Mason he was imagining it. Ethan glanced at me in the mirror, and I could tell he did not like that I dismissed Mason's feelings. At the community hall, we walked in, and the noise hit us. Kids ran around the craft tables. Parents stood with hot drinks. Someone's phone camera was already up, filming a choir of children near the stage. I saw familiar faces from school pickup and from the neighborhood chat group. I could almost feel the questions in their eyes. A woman from Ava's class came over and asked if I was okay. I gave her the soft face again. I said marriage was hard sometimes, and I was learning boundaries. She asked if Ethan was doing better with respecting my space. I nodded slowly, like it was a sensitive topic. Ethan stood beside me, holding Ava's hand, and said nothing. That silence made the woman look at him with a kind of pity. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I felt annoyed, because Ethan looked too calm to match the picture I was painting. He did not look guilty. He looked careful, like he was choosing every movement. Taryn arrived a little later with my mother. My mother hugged me too tightly and asked if I was holding up. I said I was managing. Taryn looked at Ethan and asked if he was going to behave tonight. Ethan answered that he was here for the kids, and that was all. Taryn smirked and asked why he sounded like a robot. I laughed. I should not have, but I did, because it kept the mood on my side. We moved through the tables. Ava wanted face paint. Ethan waited in line with her without complaint. Mason drifted toward a table with model cars. Ethan followed him, not close enough to crowd him, but close enough to be present. It was like Ethan was practicing being the perfect father in public. I told myself it was fake. At the snack table, a man from the neighborhood asked Ethan how work was going. Ethan said things were busy but fine. The man joked that Ethan always seemed so steady. I jumped in and said steady was one word for it, and controlling was another. I said Ethan liked to check on me like I was a teenager. A few people laughed, not too loud, but loud enough. Ethan looked at me and asked quietly if I wanted to step aside for a minute. I said he always did this, like he wanted to pull me out of a room and lecture me. He said he did not want to lecture me. He said he wanted to keep things respectful. I said respect was earned, not demanded. I told myself I sounded strong. Then I did something that I knew would poke him. I reached for my phone and held it like I was about to record, just to see what he would do. I wanted him to react. I wanted him to look guilty and angry in front of people. Ethan noticed and took one step back instead of forward. He asked me, calmly, not to record him. He said he would not touch my phone, and he would not fight in public. He said we could talk at home or not at all. That made my chest tighten. It was like my bait hit nothing. My mother pulled me closer and asked what was going on. I told her Ethan was trying to control the conversation again. She frowned at Ethan and said he needed to stop stressing me. Ethan did not argue with her either. He only turned his body toward Ava and asked if she wanted sprinkles on her cookie. Ava said yes and smiled. People saw him being gentle. People saw me standing there, tense and sharp. I felt a shift, small but real. Later, when we were near the stage, I saw Nolan on the far side of the room. He was not close, but he was there, like a shadow with a familiar face. My pulse jumped. I told myself it was coincidence. I told myself I was allowed to have a life. Nolan looked at me for half a second, then looked away, like he was being careful too. Ethan noticed my attention move. He asked what I was looking at. I said I was looking for the kid's teacher. He nodded, like he accepted it, and kept his eyes on Mason. That calmness again, that steady, measured calm. When we finally left, Mason climbed into the car and asked Ethan if we were still a family. The question sat in the air like smoke. I wanted to tell Mason not to be dramatic, but the words stuck. Ethan turned his head slightly and told Mason that families can change shape, but the kids would be safe and loved. Mason asked if that meant divorce. Ethan said he was not discussing adult choices with kids in the car. He said Mason could always ask questions, and Ethan would answer in a safe way. I felt angry, because Ethan sounded like the good parent. I also felt afraid, because he sounded prepared. At home, the kids went to bed. The house got quiet again. In the driveway, Ethan opened the trunk, and I saw a neat bag inside. It looked like an overnight bag, plain and practical. I asked why it was there. He said it was for emergencies and planning. I asked what emergency. He said the kind where adults need space and kids need routine. Inside, I followed him toward the guest room. I asked if he was going to keep punishing me with distance. He said he was not punishing me. He said he was reducing conflict. I asked if he was trying to make me look like the bad guy. He said he was not trying to make me look like anything. He said the truth would do what it does. I heard a soft click from the closet again, like a lock. I saw a sticky note on the counter that said to bring forms. I pretended I did not see it, but my stomach tightened. I told Ethan he was acting cold and cruel. He asked if I wanted honesty or comfort. I said I wanted my husband back. He asked if I wanted him back or if I wanted control back. I said he was twisting my words again. He stood in the guest room doorway, calm, hands at his sides. He said he would not shout, he would not beg, and he would not play games. He said he would handle it properly. Monday morning, I walked into the office tower lobby like I owned the air. I wore my best coat and held my phone like a shield. I told myself Ethan would cool down. I told myself his properly line was only a threat to scare me back into place. The lobby was bright with glass walls and holiday decorations. People from my floor were near the coffee kiosk. I saw Maurice by the elevators, looking stiff and tired. She did not wave. That annoyed me because I still wanted her to feel like the problem. A man in a plain jacket stepped toward me and asked if I was Lavinia Whitley. I said yes, and asked who he was. He said he had documents for me. He held out an envelope and asked me to confirm my name again. I felt heat rise in my face. I said this was not the time. He said it was the time because I was present and identified. 2 coworkers glanced over. One of them asked if I was okay. I said I was fine, but my voice sounded thin. I opened the envelope because everyone was watching. I saw the first page and the words hit me like cold water. It was a divorce petition. It was not dramatic language. It was clean and structured, like Ethan's work notes. My hands shook as I flipped to the next pages. There were temporary orders attached. The date was stamped and real. The rule started immediately, not someday. I saw a parenting schedule proposal with clear pickup and drop-off times. I saw a line about keeping the kids' routine steady. I saw a part that said we had to use a written method for communication, only about the children and the home. I saw a section that warned against harassment of third parties. Maris's name was there as a protected contact, like a boundary made into a wall. My throat went dry. I looked up and saw Maris watching me from across the lobby. Her eyes were not angry. They were done. I turned and saw Ethan near the entrance, not close to me. He was standing with his hands in his coat pockets. He did not look triumphant. He looked calm and tired. That calmness felt worse than rage. I walked toward him and asked what he was doing. He said he was doing what he told me he would do. He said he would handle it properly. I said he was humiliating me in public. He said I humiliated him in public first, and he did not raise his voice. I told him he was trying to ruin me. He asked if I read the terms. I said I did not need terms to understand my own life. He said the terms were for the kids and the finances, not my feelings. I flipped pages again and saw the financial safeguards. Joint accounts were restricted from unusual withdrawals. There was a list of required bills and a method for paying them. There was a warning about hiding or destroying records. My stomach dropped because I remembered the shredder hum and the locked drawer click, and now I understood who was counting what. A coworker stepped closer and asked what was happening. I said Ethan was punishing me because he was jealous. Ethan did not reply to that. He only said we would not discuss adult issues at my workplace. Then Maris walked over and asked me quietly why I used her name. I told her she was overreacting. She said she only told the truth. She said she had already given a statement about the call and the timeline. I felt my face burn because my own story was collapsing in front of witnesses. Ethan asked if I was ready to follow the schedule for today. He said Ruth was already set to pick up the kids after school, and he had arranged it to keep things calm. He said the courthouse clerk had confirmed the start time on the orders. He said the result was active now. I looked at the stamped date again and my knees felt weak. The words on the page did not care about my excuses. They did not care about my posts, my tears, or my version. I stood in the lobby with the envelope open, and I realized the truth I tried to control had turned into a record I could not edit.